Hey, drama lovers. Welcome to True Life Stories. Before we dive into today's jaw dropping tale, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated with our most shocking real life stories. Today's story is one you won't believe. It's about trust, betrayal, and the ultimate comeback. Imagine being blindsided by the person you love most in the world, only to turn that heartbreak into the greatest transformation of your life. This is the story of how I discovered my wife's secrets, took back control of my life, and came out stronger than ever at M. My name is Daniel. And if you've ever been in a relationship where things suddenly felt off, then you'll want to stick around for this one. My wife, Claire, and I have been married for 12 years. We weren't perfect, no couple is, but I always thought we had a solid foundation. We had built a life together through struggles and triumphs, buying our first home, navigating career changes, and even overcoming a miscarriage early in our marriage. Through it all, we were a team, or so I thought. But about 6 months ago, something changed. At first, it was subtle. Claire started staying up later than usual, scrolling on her phone with the screen lighting up her face in the dark. When I'd ask what she was doing, she'd shrug it off with vague answers like just texting a friend or scrolling through Instagram. Everyone deserves privacy, right? That's what I told myself at first. But as time went on, her behavior became harder to ignore. She started laughing at messages she wouldn't share with me and tilting her phone screen away whenever I walked by. She began setting her phone face down on the table, a small gesture that sent alarm bells ringing in my head. Then there were the nights when she'd get texts late at night and leave the room to reply. It wasn't just the phone, it was everything. Conversations between us became shorter and more superficial. She stopped asking about my day or sharing details about hers. At first, I thought maybe she was stressed or going through something personal that she didn't know how to talk about yet. But deep down, I knew better. If you've been with someone long enough, you can tell when they're acting differently. And Claire was definitely acting differently. Point one evening after dinner, Claire sat me down with a serious look on her face. "Daniel," she said softly but firmly, "I think I need some space." The words hit me like a freight train. My brain processed them immediately, but my body froze completely still. No reaction, just a sinking feeling in my chest, as if someone had pulled the floor out from under me. "Space," I repeated calmly, keeping my voice neutral even though my heart was racing. "What do you mean?" She hesitated before responding with vague platitudes. "I just need time to figure things out, to focus on myself, to think about what I really want." Her words felt rehearsed, like she had practiced them in front of a mirror before saying them to me. She avoided eye contact and fidgeted with her hands as she spoke. In that moment, something inside me shifted. Instead of panicking or begging her for answers like I might have done years ago, I decided to stay calm and collected. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that the person who stays calm holds all the power in any confrontation. "All right," I said simply, leaning back in my chair. "If space is what you need, then space is what you'll get." She seemed surprised by my response, almost as if she had expected me to argue or plead with her not to go through with it. That's when I knew there was more to this than just needing space. My gut told me something else was going on. And when your gut speaks, you listen. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention to Claire's behavior without letting on that anything was different for me. People say trust your partner, but sometimes you have to trust your instincts more. I began by checking her phone records, not snooping into private conversations, but simply looking for patterns in call logs and text frequencies. Sure enough, one number stood out, a number she had been texting almost daily for weeks. Next came social media. Claire wasn't overly active online, but had recently started posting more selfies than usual, photos where she looked happier than she did at home, and tagging locations I didn't recognize from our usual routines. Then came the real kicker. While scrolling through her followers list one night, yes, I went there, I noticed an unfamiliar name that kept popping up in likes and comments on her posts. Ethan. Something about his profile picture, a man in his late 30s with a charming smile, made my stomach churn that I clicked on his profile and scrolled through his posts until I found one that made my blood run cold. A photo of him and Claire together at what looked like a cozy cafe downtown. The caption reading, "Catching up with an old friend, Red Heart." After discovering the messages and the truth about Claire's rekindled relationship with her high school boyfriend, Ethan, I knew it was time to confront her. But I wanted to do it on my terms, not in anger or desperation, but with clarity and control. I wasn't going to let her manipulate the narrative or gaslight me into questioning my own worth. That evening, while Claire was scrolling through her phone as usual, I calmly sat across from her at the dining table. "Claire," I said, my voice steady but firm, "we need to talk." She looked up, startled by my tone. "What is it?" she asked, feigning innocence that I slid my phone across the table with the messages and photos open on the screen. "Care to explain this?" Her face went pale as she stared at the evidence. For a moment, she was speechless, a rare occurrence for someone as quick-witted as Claire. But then she did what she always did when caught off guard. She deflected. "It's not what it looks like," she stammered. "Ethan and I are just friends. We were reminiscing about old times. That's all." "Old times," I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Claire, these aren't messages between just friends. And don't even try to deny that you've been meeting him behind my back." She opened her mouth to argue, but quickly realized there was no point. The evidence was undeniable. Instead, she shifted tactics, tried to play the victim. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. "I've just been feeling so lost lately. So disconnected. Her words might have worked on me once upon a time, but not anymore. Lost," I said, my voice calm but cold. "Disconnected? Claire, if you were feeling that way, you could have talked to me. Instead, you chose to betray me." She broke down in tears, sobbing about how she didn't know what she wanted and how confused she'd been. But I wasn't going to let her crocodile tears manipulate me into forgiving her. "I think we both know what needs to happen next," I said quietly but firmly. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I mean this marriage is over," I replied. "You made your choice when you started sneaking around with Ethan." The days that followed were emotionally exhausting, but also liberating. Claire tried everything to win me back. Apologies, promises to change, even begging at one point, but my decision was final. I had spent too many years putting her needs above my own and ignoring the warning signs of her selfishness. It was time to put myself first. The divorce process was messy, as most divorces are. Claire fought hard to keep the house and a significant portion of our savings. But thankfully, I had documentation of her infidelity that worked in my favor during mediation. In the end, she walked away with less than she had hoped for, and far less than she deserved. As for Ethan, their relationship fizzled out within weeks of our separation becoming public knowledge. It turned out he wasn't interested in a long-term commitment. He just enjoyed the thrill of rekindling an old flame at someone else's expense. Claire was left alone to pick up the pieces of her life while I moved forward with mine. The months after the divorce were some of the most transformative of my life. For the first time in years, I felt free. Free from Claire's manipulation, free from constant doubt and insecurity, free to rediscover who I was outside of our toxic relationship, that I threw myself into self-improvement with a level of focus and determination I hadn't felt in years. The gym became my sanctuary, a place where I could channel all my anger and frustration into something productive. Watching myself grow stronger physically mirrored the emotional strength I was building day by day, that I also reconnected with old friends, people I had drifted away from during my marriage, because Claire always found ways to isolate me socially. These friendships reminded me of who I used to be before a relationship consumed so much of my identity. But perhaps most importantly, I started pursuing passions that had been on hold for far too long, like photography, something I had loved in college, but abandoned due to lack of time, and Claire's disinterest. Picking up a camera again felt like reclaiming a piece of myself that had been lost, that I wasn't actively looking for love when it found me. But isn't that how it always happens? Her name was Rachel, a friend of a friend who shared my love for photography and adventure. We met at a gallery opening where one of my photos had been featured, a small but meaningful milestone in my post-divorce journey. Rachel was everything Claire wasn't: kind-hearted, supportive, and genuinely interested in getting to know me for who I was, not what I could provide or how I fit into her plans. Our connection was immediate but unforced. We took things slow because neither of us wanted to rush into anything after past heartbreaks. Over time, Rachel showed me what a healthy relationship looked like, one built on mutual respect and trust rather than control and manipulation. Being with her felt easy in ways being with Claire never had. Looking back now, years later, I can honestly say that losing Claire was one of the best things that ever happened to me. It forced me out of a comfort zone that wasn't serving me anymore and pushed me toward growth and self-discovery. Today, Rachel and I are happily married with two beautiful children who remind us every day what unconditional love truly looks like. My photography has turned into a successful side business alongside my career as a graphic designer. A career move inspired by Rachel's encouragement to follow my creative passions. As for Claire, last I heard through mutual acquaintances, because trust me, I'm not keeping tabs. She's still single and struggling financially after burning bridges with both Ethan and several former friends who grew tired of her selfish behavior. If there's one thing this journey taught me, it's that sometimes life has a way of removing people who don't deserve you, so it can make room for those who do. Betrayal hurts, but it doesn't define you unless you let it. If you're watching this right now, wondering if you'll ever recover from heartbreak or betrayal, take it from someone who's been there. You will not only recover, you'll thrive beyond anything you thought possible. Thank you for watching today's story. If this resonated with you or inspired you in any way, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who might need encouragement right now. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another jaw-dropping tale here on True Life Stories. Until next time, stay strong and remember, sometimes losing someone is exactly what sets you free.